actually a really good opportunity for agents to really dive into conversations that maybe got glassed over by this crazy, insane market that low interest rates, provided.
Welcome back to the show. I have two realtors who are also franchise owners with Real Producers on the call today. I have Kelly Kilmer from Oklahoma and Devon Doran from Alaska. Welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I'm pretty excited. This is something new. We're going to be doing this actually consistently, bringing on area directors along with people that they're recommending. I want to start there with both of you guys have a favorite episode or two, I'm sure, from the podcast. Kelly, we'll start with you. You actually brought me someone that you're pretty pumped about. What was your favorite episode?
Yes, definitely Brett Boone's episode. Brett's an agent here in Oklahoma and has quite the story to tell of addiction and recovery. And it was just really inspirational to see and hear someone's rock bottom and how they recovered.
Yeah, it was pretty inspirational. And I asked him, is there anything off limits? And he's like, I'm an open book. He just wants to help people. So yeah, definitely check that one out. Devon, what about you? Which one stood out for you?
Well, we had this conversation a few months ago or several months ago about favorite books that we've read. And I brought up the book Blue Fishing, written by Steve Sims. And you managed to get him on the podcast. So, of course, that's my favorite episode so far. Steve Sims is incredible, has done some fascinating things. And I thought that was really cool.
That was a great show. I started off by calling him Bluey's dad. He got a good kick out of that, but he was phenomenal. He's a great guest. I asked him a question, because he's not in the real estate space, but he coaches a lot of realtors. And I asked him the question, why would someone hire you as a coach versus someone who is a real estate coach by trade? And I really like his answer. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to tease you guys a little bit. Check out that episode as well, Steve Sims. Well, today's topic it is a good one for you two, because you got both the perspective of being top producing realtors yourself, even still, and then and running brokerages and also running very successful Real Producers franchises. So very high-powered people. What's going on with NAR and how does RP fit into that is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Kelly, I want to start with you because you were actually at a meeting last night that gave you a little bit more information. And so I feel like if is top producing realtors and their teams that listen to this podcast primarily, but I would say even if you're well informed, there's probably still a lot of confusion around what's going on, even still right now. Our buyer's going to eventually be phased out. Buyer's agent's going to be phased out. What's going on with the commissions? So let's just start very basic with, what is the most recent news that you've got at your fingertips?
All right, great. Thanks, Remington. So last night I was actually able to meet in person with one of our national reps for RPAC, the Realtors Political Action Committee. They're not affiliated with any political party. They just rally funds to support whoever is going to work with agents and realtors the best. And he explained something that even I, doing all the research that I've done on this topic, what I was kind of surprised by. One of the things we've heard a lot of is the NAR. Not happy. I was about to say disdain or the NAR hate, but it's not really hate. It's that our agents were kind of confused of how did this come down and why are they not protecting us? We're supposed to be protected. And the answer is they did protect us in the best way possible in this situation. And he was able to explain to us exactly, how it came down. So the settlement is proposed. It's not in effect just yet. If a judge signs it as it is, it would be in July. There could be some more revisions coming down. But he said the reason that it's really been confusing and tough is because the way that the information was released. It was actually, the agreement was drawn up and settled on a Thursday. It was a Thursday evening. That would have been March 14th. And into the evening, everybody, attorneys on both sides, everyone agreed, okay, here's the plan that we're going to release this to the National Association of Realtors members, which is the largest trade organization in the world. So it's a lot of people. It has a lot of impact. And they had this set up of how it was going to be released. And no one was supposed to release anything until after 10 a.m. the next day on the 15th. And both attorneys agreed to it. Everybody had this plan of how this media and all of it was going to be brought in after the members of NAR were given the information. And it didn't work
That did not
way.
happen, huh?
That did not happen. So we had some leaks, and information got leaked out before the members were notified. And of course, our major news networks started picking up on things. And because they didn't have all the facts, they invented some things to get that news story out. And it was a hot news story. Of course, you're going to, if you're going to affect millions of people, and in fact, the whole country of people that buy and sell homes, that's a big impact. And so they started on that story pretty big with all kinds of misinformation. And that's how it got released, and why there's so much confusion around it. The other side of it was why did we settle? And why aren't we appealing? Like if we know, and most of us know.
And when you say we, who is we in this?
The National Association of Realtors. It's like,
Right.
why are we not appealing this judgment, instead of coming back and just offering a settlement that seems frivolous, and it seems like that. And the explanation, simply was, even though this organization, of course, they collect dues and they have money in here, the process of appealing would drive that group to bankruptcy. And they said, even if we know we're right, we know we're not admitting guilt here, but in order to save the organization and the members that are a part of it in the industry, and for us to continue to provide this, this was the option, because they would have driven to bankruptcy, and the fallout on that would have been so much bigger and so much worse. So
I understand the argument there, Kelly, because people are saying that, the optics of settling basically admits guilt. And now you're saying, oh, yeah, we were basically lying to the general public. And so that led to now mainstream media picking it up. And we've all seen clips. Everyone who's in real estate. I mean, the hottest trend right now is on social media correcting the mainstream media and how off kilter it's been. And almost, people are literally calling him out for almost straight up lying. So Devon, what are you seeing? What are you seeing that's happening there? Like, how is mainstream media able to botch it up so bad? And what is your response as a realtor to make sure that the general public actually gets the right information?
Well, I think we have to be, as realtors, we have to be the ones that control the narrative. And what I found is that we know that the media doesn't always tell the truth, or they spin the truth. And so the general public is already prepared for that, but it's just up to us as professionals to really tell the true story. And we have to do that on a small scale through our clients, through our communities, through our social media, and just really tell what the true story of what's happening. So just since that's been, announced, I've went on several listing appointments, and that is the very first question they ask me is like, how does this affect me? Does this mean I can't pay a buyer's commission? Like, do I have to? You never had to begin with. And just, how that works. And just, it's really, it's actually a really good opportunity for agents to really dive into conversations that maybe got glassed over by this crazy, insane market that low interest rates, provided. It's a great opportunity to dive into conversations about how it works, how people get paid. And it's just an opportunity we just didn't take in the past.
So Kelly, what did they say? Like I'm not in the know as much as you are, who have actually sat on the boards and know all the ins and outs of commissions and know the settlement way better than I do. When you watch a news broadcast, you're probably outraged a lot more than I am, because I don't know all the things that are wrong about it. So what are some of the things they're saying that are so incorrect?
That was an unbelievable headline. And it's for us that are in the business, that was for the first time ever, real estate commissions will be negotiable, and sellers are going to save thousands of dollars on their home selling process because of this. And it was even in a presidential speech that said for the first time ever. And that impact was it was a gut stomach punch for people in our industry that know that every single day happens. We negotiate the way that things are paid. So that was the one that really hit hard. And we're having to go back and explain, it's always been negotiable. And, most of our clients were keenly aware of that.
What does that do, though, that they said that? What does that do for the general public when they see that? Is that literally just I knew they've been lying to us? Is that kind of where their head goes, or what? Why was that so damaging of a headline?
Just it was damaging because of there could have been pockets, I say in the industry, pockets of people that were fixing your rate, saying this is what you need to charge, this is where it is. And brokerages have a lot of impact on their agents, and they will say, this is where we need to charge is in this area or that area. Just like a restaurant is going to price, their tacos need to be in this price point to make sense, or a steak needs to be at this price point to make sense for the restaurant. So there were brokers dripping that down on their agents, all the time, like giving advice, but there's never this just price fixed. So for the consumer, they're thinking, did I pay too much? That was a big question. Did I pay too much for my agent? Should I have asked for other negotiations?
Immediate buyer's remorse for everyone who bought a home in the last 2 years.
Yes. And the settlement, when I heard, like if someone applies into the settlement and they are approved that they were entitled to part of the settlement on the class action, their price is $12 or $13 is what they'll be receiving back on the settlement. So it's not going to have, not going to have that impact that I think the headline was indicating that, if you were a part of this, you're going to get thousands. And the next time you sell your house, you're going to get you're going to save all this thousands of dollars. Even if they did, now they're buyers. Typically sellers become buyers. So now they're just going to pay it in a different place in a different way. And
your next Starbucks is on me. Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
Well, Devon, so what's the opportunity? Because there's always an opportunity. There's a gift in every issue like this that I think for the if real estates are trying to become more professional. I mean, that was the last 10 years kind of like the theme around everything is like, how can we as an industry? And I feel like, I mean, from an outsider looking in, someone who's just been on the vendor side for 10, 15 years, it seemed like the narratives around realtors were being damaged by new realtors getting in and not taking it seriously. I mean, I think that's the number one pitfall of real estate is you get someone who gets right out of college and thinks I'm going to make millions, where they hear someone sold $4 million worth of real estate and they think they made $4 million worth of real estate. So I'm going to get in, I'm going to be a millionaire in the first year. So you got that person. Then you got, a stay-at-home parent that wants to do a side gig. You got basically people who are getting in, and for some reason, they're not taking off like they thought they were, and they're taking away deals from the people who've been doing this a long time or are new but still taking it seriously. So then the industry itself takes a hit, and now everyone's perception, and I'll tell you from a vendor's perspective, you meet with contractors, like that's kind of where their head goes a lot too if they haven't worked with top producers. They go to, oh yeah, realtors just waste my time. They just want a quote so they can get their house going, all this kind of stuff. And so we, as real producer franchises, get to educate them on that's why this list of our top realtors that get the magazine are so important. But to get back to my question, Devon, what is the opportunity here to get better at the commission discussion with a client?
Well, I think there's an opportunity for realtors to get better in a lot more areas than just that, because that 2021, 2020 market just really didn't do us any favors. So you're attracted a whole new generation of realtors, like you said, that came in that were looking for a side hustle, fresh out of college, and we had this conversation of, my sister's brother's cousin just got a license. I want to throw him a bone. Could all you guys do is unlock doors. The opportunity in this is to show how that is just not the case. I think one of the things that realtors do a very, very bad job at is explaining exactly what we do. Explaining that, when your septic fails or your appraisal comes in low or your buyer backs out at the last minute and you just paid $10,000 to move your family across, the city. how do you navigate that process? And we've done a really bad job of explaining that, exactly what our value is. So the opportunity is really for us to articulate our value to our clients when we meet them. I think we got away from having these really in-depth consultations. Like when you go in to see your doctor, you sit down and have a consultation. You explain to them what's going on, what goals do you hope to reach, what problems are you having, what challenges do you need help with? And we got away from that when the interest rates were low and there were 20, 30, offers on homes at a time, and you just needed to get there as fast as you could. So, Mary's sister, brother's cousin doesn't get there first. So I believe that's the biggest opportunity, is really to elevate the professionalism in our industry. And this is really an opportunity for those seasoned people that have experience to rise to the top.
Kelly, anything to add to that?
Yeah, we're excited. As your real producers agents, your real producers realtors are high producing professionals. Take it serious, and we're excited about some of the positive, great things that I can already see coming out of this. One of them being realtor safety. Because without a buyer broker agreement, which wasn't required in many states, a lot of people would take that random online lead and meet a random online stranger at an empty house on a moment's notice in hopes of getting a deal. And that is going to slow down a ton. So
why? How's that going to slow down? What's the new route by which they can get that online lead?
Yes, great question, because that's the second great thing is the transparency of how all of us are paid. Where the buyer's dollar goes when they buy a home and they get the mortgage and put it together with their down payment, or they're putting up all the cash, where are all the dollars going? And that transparency opens up too, because of the requirement of a buyer broker listing agreement. I'm calling them now, because it's like a listing agreement. When you go to list a house, you make that agreement with a brokerage that you're going to sell your house with this brokerage. And now a buyer is going to be committed in the same way to a brokerage, that they're going to sign on with someone to be their partner and represent them in this. So it slows down the process. Hopefully, we're hoping that it will that agents will take this seriously, to have a buyer consultation, sit down, go through all the things and how their money is spent, just like we would with a listing. And that transparency in all of the areas, it's helping us open up the conversation with sellers as well. It's just transparency. It's not just, oh, here's my rate. Here's my rate for commission. Let's, negotiate it. We come up with it, but we're going to go a little deeper in where, even if this is my rate, how is that going to be spent? Is part of it going to be offered as a concession towards a buyer fee? Is part of it going to be for closing cost, interest rate buy downs? Like, we're going to be a little more open to those conversations and negotiations as buyers come in and ask for those concessions of where is this money actually going, rather than the seller just offering money out there without the thought. So much higher level of professionalism. And I love the safety element of it. I'm hoping that agents take it seriously enough to not just go meet a random stranger at a random house.
I want to transition to buyers agents, because that's been, for me, when I hop on Instagram and see a bunch of, shorts and reels on something related to these lawsuits, it's what's next for buyer's agents specifically. And it feels like the narrative is buyer's agents are going away. That's the biggest concern. And a lot of, a ton of realtors are concerned for that. Regardless of if that's true or not, there definitely seems to be a shift for buyer's agents. So what is that?
Well, that I do believe that the requirement of having this buyer broker contract in place prior to working with buyers, that is not in place in a lot of different states. And I've heard that states, I think Jen mentioned that on the call we did on Monday, that where it's required in some states, it's not always enforced. It's not required in Alaska. And I think there's going to be an increased awareness on the consumer side of who actually they're willing to sign up for. It's one thing to say, make a call and say, hey, can you please go show me this house? There's zero commitment. On the realtor side, there's like an implied commitment, but there's no real commitment on that side. But I think when buyers are forced into this commitment prior to going out and looking at homes, they're going to be a lot more aware of the person they're hiring. They're going to want to know experience and, what kind of background you have and what kind of negotiations you've been involved in. And I love that aspect of it because like I said, it's a time for us to be able to really articulate our value, because that's going to be required if you are going to survive, especially as a buyer's agent.
I've got this side note. Ask Devon if she's ever sold an igloo in Alaska.
No. There's actually like one that was built like, I don't know, about 100 miles from here, but it's not even a real igloo. So
I don't know how that question got. That must have been my team. So interesting. So back to the whole buyers, that you guys are not concerned for buyers agents. They're not going anywhere. They're just, as you understand it, the professionalism and the standards by which they, gain a contract before they even start showing homes is what is changing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I'm concerned for them. If you're a door unlocker and have no real value to the transaction, yes, I'm concerned for you.
Yes, there will be less buyers agents. Yeah, the having buyer representation, I don't feel like is going away either. But that weak buyer representation, those are the ones that we're worried for and expecting to fall out of the industry. And the great news is those aren't real producing agents anyway. Those are producers. Those are not our people. So the agents that we work with through Real Producers are the cream of the crop. They are the professionals. They're not afraid of change. Many have seen the changes in the industry over and over again, and they're like, well, here's just another thing, and it's okay.
Let me ask you guys, how quickly do these things go into place? So when you see on the news that all these things are happening while first it was allegations, then it was an actual lawsuit, then there was a settlement. As these things are going through, how quickly do they actually impact you on a daily basis? So like in this moment, the settlement is going through. Are all the states shifting right now in this moment by a certain calendar date to where they have to use, that contract, Devon? Or like how quickly do these things go into act?
I think a lot of people are putting stuff in place right now in anticipation for it. The last I've heard is that, some of this stuff is really up in the air because it's only, the settlement only happened a few weeks ago. But we're hearing mid-July is when the actual requirements of some of the settlement will be taking place, which is not that far. So a lot of people are being proactive.
But there'll be a gap is what that is happening pretty quickly. Another concern is the gap between the time that maybe the lending industry and our state forms, each state regulates their agents and their authority trumps anything that comes out nationally. So that's something else that we learned last night is that a state can decide that they're not going to require something or they want to require more above. But so state forms have to catch up. We'll move on from July, but lending is another question mark right now that's up in the air because there are some loan programs that don't allow the buyer to pay an agent fee. Even if the seller is offering a concession, they can't wrap it around and use it. So they're scrambling and there's going to be a gap because government-backed loans take a while to be adjusted like that. So, and they said there's no way it's happening by mid-July. It could be well into next year before that gets corrected.
Well, I like the response of hopefully people are, brokerages especially, are putting things into place now, just anticipating and becoming more professional just because of the optics. So I love that. I want to shift gears to RP for a minute and take advantage of the time that I have with you guys because you have a very unique perspective of running an RP franchise amidst while being top producing realtors. Obviously, you put your face on the first cover and told everybody how cool you were and did a feature on yourself. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, you haven't done that. Resisted the urge. Why do realtors engage, in your opinion, with real producers? I'll tell you what I mean by that. When I first started, and it wasn't there, we didn't have a big old map to show people we were in 140 cities and have the social media presence and everything that we have now. It was one of one, and getting some realtors to understand that they should engage and actually care about other realtors that are in their market seemed like it was difficult at times, and I didn't understand why. And I had someone sitting at a masterclass with me, And he said something that was really interesting. I want to get your guys' take on this. He said, the reason why I show up to networking events, because the common thing was coming back is like, why would I show up to an event with a bunch of other realtors? I can't sell them homes. Well, there's no, everyone knows that there's a shortage of homes to sell. So somebody has to get the other side of that deal. Someone has to make the sale. So what are we doing to scrounge for those deals? Well, his argument was, listen, I am the most well-networked person I know, and I love working with all these agents. And sometimes when there's multiple offers on a deal, I win the deal, even if my package isn't as sexy as someone else's, maybe, better offer, because they know that I'm going to get the deal done and they like working with me. And so there's part of that, which is like, okay, you can button up that professionalism and like just say, listen, it's smart to network with other people within the industry. But from your perspective as being realtors running this thing, why do realtors show up to the events? What is the value they see in engaging in the platform with real producers? I'll start with you, Kelly.
Yeah, recognition, I think is a big piece of it. Like you said, with the other top producing agents, they get to network and know, hey, look, I'm on the list too. For that recognition of being a part of it, and well knowing that you can't just buy it and it's not fluff recognition. A lot of brokerages do that where they're recognizing their agents because, of course, you want to recognize good work, but they're recognizing agents down to the tiniest of increments of sales, just a very small. It's like, well, you did your job a little bit. And so here's a nice trophy for it. If someone's at a real producers event, and they're invited to those things, it's so much bigger than that. It's not just a fluff award. It's not something they paid for, they bought in on, that they're actually selling homes and they're involved in the industry, and they like having that camaraderie with others that are also in the pit with them. This conversation we've had today, just talking about everything with, NAR, it's like that is the big thing that they're talking about right now when they get together. So do you want to have that conversation with someone else who's in the trenches, with you, or do you want to have it with someone who sold a house last year, just one? So they know that at the networking events, they're going to have that opportunity to connect with others that have that similar mindset and are going through the same things.
I'm glad you brought up the difference between real producers and other publications out there. Nothing against a pay-to-play model. I mean, those guys are doing great. And honestly, some of the agents that buy being on the covers for other magazines are probably actually pretty good agents, and maybe it's just extra print. But I think the big advantage to us, I've never seen another real estate magazine like this where it's nomination based only. Not only that, but we made the decision a long time ago not to have any brokerages or brands advertising in our main flagship product either, for that reason. We don't want to anyone ever get a magazine and be like, well, we know why they got on the cover, their brokerage is paying a ton of money. Like, you'll never have that. We truly are nomination based. And if we were ever to go to a pay-to-play model, I think we would lose that credibility. And so our agents love that. Devon, what about your perspective out there in Alaska?
Just to piggyback on that, I love that piece of real producers. As I was an agent first, and when I decided to purchase a RP franchise, the integrity of the product was really important to me, and so I really convey that in everything we do. And I think people really love that, like that it's nomination based. And it really is. These really are the best of the best agents. And I don't think they mind being in a room with their competitors, because they're sick of being in rooms with, the people that are just there for the free drinks at the local, event that everybody's invited to. I think they like that. I do also believe that collaboration is key, and we're going to need that collaboration more than ever now. I think this is really a time that agents are going to draw together to really help each other, because all of us, and when I mean us, I mean top producing agents, the audience of Real Producers Magazine knows that the transaction is better with us as the nucleus of it. And it's really powerful to be networked with people that believe that. I think when you asked your question, I think of this buyer's agent that his business is almost exclusively buyers. And he is one of the best at it. And he is notorious for, he will like beat the phones down, calling people that he knows takes on a lot of listings for his clients. So he is selling his homes to his clients oftentimes before they ever hit the market. They don't have to compete. These agents know that he's fantastic to work with. I mean, he is a master networker. He loves things like this. He loves networking with other agents because that's how he gets his inventory for his clients. And that's why, quite frankly, he's selling 50 homes on buyer side only every single year.
Wow. So what is our response moving forward for in light of everything we're talking about? We've got a couple minutes here. Just what is your hope for the future, the two of you, for real estate? Real estate is so exciting. I mean, if you look at just the history of time, if you look at the commonality between billionaires, they all have something to do with real estate. It was deemed essential during the shutdown. Realtors are the largest trade organization in the world, as you said. It is a core industry that's not going anywhere. What is the hope and excitement around the next 5 to 10 years?
Excited for the public or the realtors themselves. I'd say it's changing. I mean, the landscape's changing. I'm both. And I'm excited about the changes because, we have to constantly be changing. Something that stands still is not moving forward. In order to move forward, you have to be rolling. So I'm really excited about, these changes getting settled, in place, and the professionalism rising, and us aligning as real producers and any agents, aligning well with the standards of the National Association of Realtors. They are an ethics group, they having, ethics and professionalism. They are the ones who put those extra layers of professionalism on our agents. And I'm excited that this put a big spotlight on that group where I feel like, at least in our area, a lot of agents are members of NAR because they were required as part of their MLS membership when they joined their board to view homes. Now they're starting to understand what this group actually does for us and why they're there and why it matters. So on the agent side, I'm looking forward to just that growth as far as agents, and the ones that are going to hang around through the tough times, the good times are going to be better for all of this.
Yeah, there's a turnover rate. I mean, the agents leave the industry, they move, they sell, they retire. And so our lists every single year, we're adding new agents, and there's agents on the outside looking in, like in Indianapolis, there's 500 agents. Agents 501 to like 1,000 are itching to get it. I get emails from them almost as much as I do from the top realtors. So I know it's true in your two. I see your heads nodding. It's true in all the markets across the nation. Dev, what about you? You've got hope for the future from the perspective of someone who not only is a top producing realtor, but you're running a vendor franchise as well to bring it all together. What are you excited about for real estate?
I'm just excited about elevating the level of professionalism in our industry. It's the only industry that I know that you can have, take a class over a weekend and make doctor-like money. The only industry I know. It's incredible. And so the barrier to entry of our industry is very low. And I think with this new transparency, it's really going to require that you are a top-notch professional to succeed in this business. Those are going to be our real producers. And I love that. I think it's exciting because they really have played with many ways to increase that barrier to entry. And I remember going to this class one time and they were talking about that. There's actually no evidence or correlation between, increasing the amount of hours to get licensed and professionalism. There's no correlation between increasing how much it costs to obtain a license and professionalism. I think there's going to be a correlation between this and professionalism. You can't suck at your job and make it with these changes. And I think that is really, really exciting.
I think it's exciting too. And I think it's exciting that anyone listening to this podcast will have a chance to meet you two ladies. We've got, I'll just drop a subtle hint. We'll be doing a national event coming in the fall of 2025. That's all I'll say about it right now. Devon Doran from Alaska, Kelly Kilmer from Oklahoma, our Real Producers franchise owners. Thanks for being on today. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Remington.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to phase out, but one last thing. podcast@realproducersmag.com. Please email me a couple things. One, feedback on today's episode. What'd you think? Email me guests that you would like to see, topics you would like to cover, and just in general, if you know someone who should run a franchise for Real Producers, send them my way as well. We'll see you next time.